All right, here we are, sense of sight, the longest section under special senses. As far as your test goes, probably the most questions come from this section. So we're going to look at the eye, parts of the eye, muscles of the eye, accessory organs. So accessory organs in your eye include the lacrimal apparatus, which is like tear ducts and things like that. Eyelids, extrinsic muscles that move your eye, and then they aid in the eye in the function of moving and seeing. So accessory organs, first one's your eyelid. The function of the eyelid is to protect from foreign objects, keeps dirt and particles out, is made up of the thinnest skin of the body, and that thin skin is lined with, it's called conjunctiva, which is just the lining, very thin portion that surrounds the eye. The conjunctiva is a mucous membrane, and that's going to help with protection also and keeping things off of your eye. It lines the inner surface of your eyelids and then also in the folds, and it covers the anterior surface of your eye except where your cornea is at. So this conjunctiva lines the inside of your eyelid, basically up to your eye, other than where your cornea is at. And your cornea itself is very important for protection. So here's the cornea, which is a transparent covering over your eye, very thick. If you did the online dissection, you should have been able to see that. At Sanborn, we'll dissect Monday. You'll be able to see it's very thick. So this is the cornea, transparent, you can see through it, protective covering. This conjunctiva then, where the cornea basically stops, your conjunctiva picks up and it's going to line down here, and it's also this thin blue lining up at the top. So it's going to help to protect also. Lacrimal apparatus, you'll need to know how this works. It produces tears. Tears are important for lubricating the eye, cleansing the eye. Lacrimal gland is what produces these tears. Very important, there's commercials all the time about dry eye. And dry eyes are not as healthy. So it is important, those of you that wear contacts, you don't want your eyes to dry out. You don't want to wear them longer than the recommended period. So I have dailies, so I pop mine out every day. Some people will have those that you can wear for a month. So make sure that you do not overuse your contacts, because they will lead to drying of the eye, and that deteriorates the health of your eye. So there's little tubes that conduct tears over the eye to keep it wet and healthy. And then there's two ducts that drain tears that go into the lacrimal sac. And I'll point these out on the picture, and it's easier to understand. Tears also contain an antibiotic or antibacterial enzyme. It's called lysozyme, and that also, if you do get bacteria on your eye, this enzyme fights off those bacteria. And then the extrinsic muscles of the eye attach to the sclera, which is the outside of the eye, and it causes your eye to move in the directions that it needs to. So here's your lacrimal apparatus. This whole thing is called the lacrimal apparatus. Tears start in the lacrimal gland. So these are where tears are produced. You produce them all the time. You're producing them right now, and you're not just crying because this is a long section. You produce tears constantly. Typically, they're produced in small amounts, and then they're going to be drained over here, superior canaliculi, inferior canaliculi, at the inside of your eye, or the medial part of your eye. So tears are produced, and then they're drained. Emotionally, when you produce excess tears, when you're crying, when you're hurt, or something bad, you're emotional, more tears are produced, they build up, and that's why typically when you cry, your tears overflow on the inside or possibly the outside corners of your eye. Your ducts or canaliculi cannot keep up with them. So once the tears are produced, they go through this canaliculi. Lacrimal sac is the first portion, which leads to the second portion, nasolacrimal duct. So I go from the lacrimal system, part of my eye, to the nasolacrimal, nose lacrimal part. Then it goes down into your nose, which completely explains why, when you're crying, your nose runs. Those tears basically are coming so quickly, they can't evaporate, your body can't keep up, and those tears are actually going to basically drip out your nose. So that is the lacrimal apparatus. You should know all the parts of that. Muscles. If anybody's had a lazy eye, you may have had surgery on some of these muscles. We had a little neighbor boy that had eye surgery on, his must have been the medial side. And so what happens, it basically kind of looks like this. If you have a lazy eye and your eye is turning in, they're going to cut this outside muscle here. They're going to cut the lateral rectus, kind of like they have here. They're going to shorten it up and they're going to stitch it together. And I remember being horrified when my neighbor sent her son to my house because she said that, you know, it's not going to hurt anything, but if he bumps himself or something, those stitches can come loose and then his eye is just going to like go right back off to the side. So when they have that surgery, it takes a couple of days before it actually heals itself, and that's one of the corrective surgeries that they do. So if I'm looking at the muscles, rectus is going to deal with something that pulls straight back. So lateral rectus is going to pull and your eye is going to look outward. Medial rectus is going to be on the other side, and that's going to cause you to look in towards your nose. Superior rectus is going to pull your eye up, and inferior rectus is going to pull your eye down, like to look at your toes. Anything that says oblique is going to cause your eye to twist. When I talk about rolling, when you roll your eyes, you're going to use an oblique muscle. So inferior oblique is going to be at the bottom, and then superior oblique is going to be at the top. So rectus pulls a straight direction. Oblique is going to pull around or circular motion. And here's just a table then that explains what each of these muscles do. I'm not concerned about the nerve part at all, but the function you should know. Structure of the eye. Eye is a fluid-filled sphere, and it has 3 layers that you'll need to know. The cadaver dissection part, very good study tool, especially for the eye and the ear. So when we talk about the 3 layers, the sclera, choroid, and retina are the 3 main layers of your eye. The sclera is the white of your eye. So when I'm looking at someone and you see the whites of their eye, that's the sclera. Choroid coat is the middle lining, very rich in blood supply, important for bringing blood supply to the eye. And then the retina is going to be like the nervous system part, your rods and cones. It's going to pick up images. I would expect that you know every part on this. So the eye dissection on the website, good practice. Look at this, the cadaver dissection on your website. Make sure you look at that because that's where I take the questions from. So here's the 3 layers. If I look at the back portion of your eye, your optic nerve comes in at the back. Optic disc is just simply the back of the eye right in front of where your optic nerve is at. Macula lutea, more importantly, fovea centralis, right here, when your images come in, this is where they focus on the back of your retina. So fovea centralis, this is where you want your images to focus. If they don't focus exactly here, you're going to be like me and you're going to need glasses to adjust it. Posterior cavity is this entire cavity back there, and it is filled with vitreous humor, a thicker liquid. Anterior cavity is going to be this front portion, and it's going to be filled with aqueous humor, which is more water-like. That's why it's called aqueous. Here's your lens. Your pupil's just a hole. So if you did not have the cornea covering in front of your eye, you could take a pencil and poke it right into the pupil. The pupil is simply an opening into your eye. It's not a structure. The iris is the colored part of your eye, and your iris is the part that actually changes the size of your pupil. So when it's dark out, your pupil is going to be bigger, that opening is going to be bigger to let in more light. So your iris is going to pull back and shrink, causing your pupil to be bigger. When the light is bright, you don't want all that light coming in. Your iris is going to relax, make that pupil smaller so that less light comes in. Suspensory ligaments connect or hook your lens, keep it intact. What else? Ciliary body is what they hook to, so that's on the outside. Aqueous humor, like I said, very liquid, very water-like. And then we have the anterior chamber in front of your iris, the posterior chamber of your anterior cavity. So do make sure that you study that diagram. And I will stop there for a little bit.